good, by the way.
I'm trying to let the gray grow. Oh, shoot, we're live.
I like it. I like it. No, don't worry. No one's watching. Okay. So before we get into the meat of the question about the booth essays, which we are going to deep dive into in the coming 20 minutes or so. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Say hello, please. Tell us who's here. We can't see you unless you say hi to us in the chat. So give us a hello. So first thing before we get to the essays is there's a lot of interesting stuff. What's up, Alex? Our favorite. Wait, I didn't say that. I didn't say that out loud. Hey, Roma. Hey. So lots of weird stuff going on this year with the consortium and with schools removing themselves from the consortium, like at the last minute, like so uncool, I think, of a move for them to back out at the timing that they did. And so this is going to shift some things with respect to deadlines, Heather. Just you're our timing and school nuance expert. So talk to us about what you think that is going to mean.
Awesome. Well, okay. So we're going to talk about two schools that have left the consortium today. And so there's 4 total. So what I think, so let's just review them. And I wanted to do this also because depending on where students or applicants, aspiring MBAs get their information, they could get really wrong information. I mean, like if you type in Chatty and like, hey, Chatty, what about this? ChatGPT will tell you that Booth, who we're going to talk about, did not leave the consortium and that you can apply in round 2. That's not the case. There's nothing published on their website about that. So Booth and 𝐞𝐞𝐬 have unofficially left the consortium. They've quietly removed themselves from the website. And now this is all around, legal compliance and DEA policies from the current administration. And so schools are they're responding how they have to respond, or how they feel they have to respond. Texas, McCombs, and Darden have officially left as of July. So that was a public announcement. Booth and 𝐞𝐞𝐬 have not come out to say that yet, but they're no longer represented on the website. And what this means, I think, for applicants this year who are applying in round 1, round 2, there's a couple of things that have happened. Some people were relying on applying through the consortium to Booth and 𝐞𝐞𝐬 and Darden and McCombs, but these last minute changes have created a panic because maybe some folks, I know some, didn't take the test yet. So they thought they had until October 15th, until that deadline. And so now they don't have that. So now they're like, okay, I have to shift from round 1 to round 2. A few students that I'm talking to, they're not the exception. This is going to be a big issue that schools are going to have to adjust to in the industry from round 1 to round 2. So I think this year is exceptional for applicants for a lot of reasons. And number 1 is, the policies around international applicants, disclosures around international applicants, relationships, marriages, partnerships, who's applying. That's all one thing. And so we actually are, I think, Angela, correct me, but I think that our stance is that 2025 is a great year to apply, maybe the best year to apply, whether you're international or American. Like this is the year to shoot your shot, round 1, round 2. And also uniquely because of the consortium changes or the changes from schools leaving the consortium, is that how this affects applicants is 2 ways. Number 1, they won't qualify for the fellowship, so that's a funding issue. And number 2 is the late round change has created a strange slush and blur between round 1 and round 2. So my suspicion, based on my experience in the industry, is that I think schools will have to reserve a little bit of funding and some seats for the applicants that were rock stars that are going to apply in round 1 through the consortium, and they're going to have to leave it open. So round 2 is almost like a big, smushy, extended round 1. And I hope I don't get an email from Booth saying, no, Heather, that's not how it is. But that's what I think. I think that the admissions committees are going to be taking this very seriously because a large population of the specific demographic is going to be applying in round 2 because of timing. So that's Heather's 2 cents.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, I think with this, the upshot of this is if you applied in round 1, good for you. If you're applying in round 1, good for you. That's a good place to be. If you're applying in round 2, I think the upshot is it might be even a little more competitive than usual because all the people who would have come in under the round 1 consortium deadline are going to hit in round 2 instead. And that's an attractive category of applicants. So, right. Am I
think so.
Agree with the takeaway?
In some ways, I think it will be more competitive than usual, but in other ways, I think that just there's a blurry admissions guideline now going into round 2. It's not quite, it's not here and here. Now they have to accommodate, and they're thoughtful human beings on the AdCom. So they're going to be weighing these things into consideration in their seats and financial aid packages or scholarships.
Totally. But back to it being the best year to apply. We've said this in other videos, anytime things are confusing and hectic, there's opportunity, because some people will take their chips and go home and come back to the table another year. And a lot of people are eyeing, the visa turbulence and the changes in DEI and all of these things that introduce uncertainty into not just admissions, but your life at business school. And they're saying, you know what, my job's fine. I'm just going to stay where I am. So I don't know. I don't know what the numbers will say at the end of round 1 and round 2, but I have a feeling this is going to be a down year. I have a feeling that most schools are going to see fewer applicants than they did last year. And that always means that there's an opportunity. And I think in particular, people who, a lot of strong applicants will sit out the application cycle and wait. Yeah. And so that means if you're one of those, like I was when I applied, I wasn't the strongest candidate. There's more of an opportunity, I think, for people who are like on the bubble or like strong, but not the rock stars. And I think that's especially true at schools like Booth. So I'm excited to talk to you all about Booth today. I love this program, not just because I went there and had a good experience. Obviously I'm biased, but I really love their application. And I think there are 2 schools that have a truly exceptional and effective admissions process that for me, like in almost 20 years doing this job, that I hold in the highest regard in terms of how they evaluate their applicants. And the first one is Harvard and the second one is Booth, and for different reasons. And hi, Ashwar, you're welcome. Thanks for your kind comment here. I can still figuring out the tech. There we go. Thanks for doing this. You're welcome. We're really happy to be here. I'm always happy to talk about Booth. So and they're strong in different ways. I think Harvard has the most complete and really most rigorous process. So I think that by the time they're getting to the decision point at Harvard, they've really taken in pretty much all the information they can. And they have done it with rigor and with consistency across all candidates. And so I have tremendous respect for the Harvard admissions process for that reason. In the case of Booth, I don't know. I wouldn't say that they measure up to that same standard, just for the simple fact that your interviewer at Booth is going to probably be a student or an alum. And a student or alum is never going to get as good data in the interview as someone who's on the AdCom, who's trained to do the interview and who does hundreds of interviews every year. That's going to yield much more meaningful information in the interview than a student or an alum could. Where I think Booth stands out to me is in it's 2 things that's really one thing. And it's that in my experience, they accept the best people. Like just good, salt of the earth, hardworking, humble people who are really going to business school to like step up and lead and to make a difference and to elevate their career. And they miss occasionally. Every once in a while, they will reject a candidate where I'm like, what are you thinking? That person was ideal. But frequently I find that they really get that right. It's a function of the essays and of the fact that students are a part of the evaluation process. And then the second thing that I think Booth does exceptionally well is they take in the most diverse student body. And this is a myth. Like people think, oh, Booth is all about finance. Like you got to be a hardcore quant jock to get into Booth. This is a total misconception, because the truth of the matter is no school teaches quantitative excellence better than Booth. They know that is what they're adding to your career. So they're totally interested in people who are not that great at math or who haven't done a lot of math, because they know that they can teach you that. They just need to see the right motivation and the right character. If you have the right set of character traits and the right motivation, you are going to find a home at Booth. You're going to find your people. You're going to have a great experience. And then they're going to teach you how to be great at business decision-making using data.
Yeah.
And then their imprint will follow you throughout your whole career. So here's a story. I don't know if I told you the story, Heather, but in my early days at BCG, so before my MBA, if you don't know, I was an English teacher and I was in HR. So like I was the softest soft skill person. Like I had not taken math since high school. And after I graduated Booth and I was working at BCG, they kept staffing me on quant heavy projects because they're like, you went to Booth, you're doing the model. And it was like, they didn't even care what I had done before. It was just like the reputation was there and it was like unequivocal. So that's Booth's reputation. So if you are like coming from a nonprofit background or you're a concert pianist, you have anything other than a business background, Booth will take you very seriously. And they I think they do the best job in my experience of admitting the most well-rounded and diverse class in this regard, because they know that their curriculum will level the playing field, that they will be able to teach you everything you need to know to be able to do business. Heather, do you want to add something? I know you know a lot about these.
No, I just want to add that because, you know, Booth is, I mean, they are exceptionally rigorous when it comes to teaching these skills. And that's why that's such a great feeder for people considering consulting. And, you know, Angela, I mean, your standards for data reporting, I mean, even just like when we publish something on the site or when about our students, our success or articles, you know, it's, you've got BCG standards that were built up on skills that you learned at Booth as a really, you know, heavily soft skilled, you know, teacher, English major, HR person. So, no, I love Booth, but I do have a question because you've talked about a lot that Booth probably places a higher degree of emphasis on integrity in their incoming applicants. So I don't want to jump ahead, but what are some of the ways that applicants can show that integrity in their essays?
Yeah, so I think I might choose a different word from integrity. Okay. Because I think what you mean is like ethical. I think that's what you mean. What do you mean when you say integrity?
I think you know, character over, I don't know, in truth, beauty, goodness, you know, salt of the earth, you know, so ethical. We can swap that.
I think you mean like, or character. Yeah. What you just said is like character. Like they're looking for people who have moral and ethical integrity. Like you live your life by a set of principles and those principles include, you know, being a good person and working hard and all that stuff. Yeah. Good. So good. So let's actually talk about that because I want to just dig into these essays right here. And I see a question here that you have the part-time program, which has slightly different essays. Alyssa, if you want to put the link to those questions in the chat here, and I'll address those questions as well. Or I can even just Google them myself. But let me talk about these first, because all the same rules, like the broad strokes of what's happening in these essays also apply. Even if the question is different, the same principles apply. So the first thing is they have this first question that says, how will an MBA at Booth help you achieve your immediate long-term post-MBA career goals? This is the classic personal statement question. And the most important thing you want to note on this page is this right here. So there is no maximum. And of course, they give you instructions. It's like, you know, use discretion, you know, use your best judgment, think strategically about how to allocate space. So they don't want you to submit a sloppy essay, but they do give you room to submit a lengthy essay. And that's very meaningful because if you compare Booth to some of its peers, I have the Wharton application here. I'm going to look at some of Booth's peers. So here's the Wharton application. You've got 50 words for your post-MBA goal. And then you've got 150 words to outline your, you know, post-MBA goals / longer-term professional goals. And then you've got 350 words to talk about making a meaningful contribution at Wharton. So if you add all of this up all together, it's 550 words max. And they're prescribing exactly how many words they want in response to each question. Columbia, who really puts a lot of emphasis on this question set, again, only gives you 500 words. And then you've got this this additional 250 to focus specifically on Columbia. And then you've got Kellogg, where you've got this like question soup. I feel like this essay is like the kitchen sink essay. And it's like, understand your journey, articulate your motivations, your goals. Here's your goals that you aim to achieve. Why now? And then why Kellogg? And all of that has to go into 450 words. So the thing to notice here is everybody has a different way that they're framing this question. Booth is saying, go nuts. That's really what they're saying here. So they're saying no word limit. So here's the thing you need to understand about essay 1. It's like all other personal statement questions. You're going to need to have your goals. You're going to need to talk a bit about your background to explain and motivate your goals and make that make sense. You're going to need to talk about, what is your long-term vision and what is your short-term goals. And then the big piece is you need to talk about what Booth is going to do for you. How is it going to help you achieve those goals? And if you look at all these personal statements, they all have those 3 pieces in common, where you're talking to some extent about your past, to some extent about your vision for the future, and then to some extent about how that school fits in. And so in this case, Booth is saying, go nuts. And so what your why Booth essay, your how is Booth going to help you achieve your goals essay, will be your most dynamic, robust, and specific answer to the why our school question, that you, no matter, like if you could apply to 20 schools, the Booth essay of why our school will be the most robust. And it should be, because Booth is looking for people who really want to be at Booth, not people who treat Booth as a safety school for some of the other ones I just showed you. So they have a unique culture. They have a unique philosophy. They have a unique curriculum. They have a unique personality type. I think one of the things that so I for a while I lived in Italy, and a buddy of mine from Booth also lived in the same city. And one year we planned the Italy alumni event for all Booth alums in the entire country. And it was mostly EMBAs. There's a ton of EMBA grads who live in Italy. And in case you don't know, the EMBA curriculum and the full-time curriculum are identical. It's the one school where the executives are put through the exact same paces as the full-time students. So what they would joke about, all these people, they would say, we only applied to Booth. We only went to Booth because the joke is, you can only do 2 things after Booth. You can either be an entrepreneur or you can be a CEO. That's it. Like, you're not being trained at Booth to be in the middle. You're being trained to make decisions, to lead, and to get things right, like all the way down into the DNA of the data. So they're looking for people. And I have so many stories. It's like, I compared notes. I interviewed for McKinsey for my summer in New York. I ended up getting offers full-time for BCG and McKinsey Chicago, but for the internship, I interviewed in New York. And when I was in the interview room, there were people from Wharton, NYU, Columbia, and Harvard all sitting around the table waiting for interviews. And we were all in the investments class. It was like second term, so we were taking financial investments, and we compared notes on what we were learning, like where the curriculum was. And I was floored at how much further into the subject matter the Booth curriculum went. So Booth is known, and this is University of Chicago. This isn't just Booth. University of Chicago is known to be one of the academically most rigorous institutions on the planet, and certainly in the United States. So they're really looking for people who want that, who want to be challenged in the classroom, who want to learn and grow, who want to geek out on data, who want to challenge themselves to, like, drink from a fire hose. Imagine me. I hadn't taken math since high school, and here I am deriving the Black-Scholes formula my second term at Booth. That's just how you roll. And so they want to know that you know what you're getting into, and that you will thrive in that environment. So you're going to need to do extra research. Ideally, you visit campus. If you can't visit campus, talk to students. Heather, you look like you're bursting. I can't shut up. Keep going. Say what you want to say.
No, the reason is because I just was asked this recently by somebody, and it's it's an honest question, and it's something that I wouldn't have thought of. But they're like, Heather, what's the point of all this networking? Why do you have to attend these events and go to schools? And it's there's so many things to it. But before you move on to part two, I want to say this is an example of why it's so important, because
so important.
Cultivating relationships. Segments, sound bites of what you've learned about the school, like this really matters to Booth. And so they want to know that you've done the homework. They want to know that you've chosen them already. They take a risk in extending a seat for you, and financial aid, of course. But so anybody who's listening or watching now or in the future, like, take this information, verify it, go talk to other people about it, know this about the school, show that you know this about the school when you're applying. And so, all of that networking is not just, it's for this question. And it's also so that you can choose, and that you've done your homework, that that Booth is actually going to give you what you need, and that it is the right school for you. And the other thing I want to say, because you brought it up, and I think it's important for at least Alyssa on this call, and a couple of other people that I know that are applying to the part-time program, is that what you said about the EMBA program, Executive MBA, at being sort of, keeping pace with the full-time MBA. What's special also about Booth's part-time MBA is that students in the part-time MBA program can self-advocate to be part of the full-time MBA recruiting cycle. So if people are in the full-time workforce and you need to take advantage of full-time MBA recruiting cycles, self-advocate, get in front of career services, and just be part of it, because it's something that they will do together. So it's another really, like, an advantage of people who are
unique. It's one of the benefits of the Booth part-time MBA is that you actually get to recruit on campus, just like the full-time MBAs, if you want to.
It's major. Like, I don't know why everybody applied to.
They implemented that when I was on campus, and there was a riot. Like, the full-time students were like, "What?" And then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, whatever, it's fine."
The full-time because it's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so here Alyssa is posting the part-time question. So, what is your short-term career goal? So that goes, of course, in 150 words. It's more like Wharton. What is your long-term MBA goal? That's 150 words. And then you've got, and here's the kicker, why are you seeking an MBA from Chicago Booth? And why is Chicago Booth's evening MBA or weekend program your program of choice? Same principle applies here. And notice how they're dedicating the lion's share of the word count here. So when you write this essay, by the time you get to the end of it, if you've done this essay right, Booth should actually be your top choice. Even if you go into this process being like, oh, I really want to go to Harvard. Harvard's my top choice. If you do the Booth essay right, by the time you get to the end, Booth will actually be your top choice. And this has happened so many times. We've had clients who like, they fall in love with Booth because they have to write this really robust essay that connects them deeply to the culture and the ethos. And they actually were like, this school's amazing. And then they're like, I don't know, I might actually go to Booth over Harvard. And then it never actually happens. They go to Harvard. But for a while, they're like Booth all the way. So that's what you want. And, there's so many, I got to stop because so I can move on to the next question. But there's just so many things that are unique about the culture and the curriculum. And so you want to get to know those things and really show that they're not just going to help you in concrete ways to achieve your goals. That's the main point of that essay, but also that you belong there, that you fit there, that's really where you want to be. All right. And now let's answer this. Now let's talk about this second question. And so this is a question that they used. I want to say it was maybe 8 years ago. It's been a long time. This question was they used to have a PowerPoint. And then the PowerPoint was replaced by this question. And then they replaced this question with the one that we've had for many years, which is like, tells you are outside of work. And now they brought the picture question back. And I have to say, I don't love the picture choices. Feel like in prior years, the picture choices were more interesting and diverse and visible. These are like grainy, whatever. Still, let's talk about how to approach this question. So, you notice how, again, they're looking for values. They're looking for alignment with the school. So it says the photo represents some of the values described above, which we'll look at in a minute, that we uphold at Booth. Select one and share how it resonates with one of your own values. And so here are your picture options. And there's no right picture to choose. There's no right way to interpret the questions. You might see this as being about investment. You might see it as being about money. You might see it as being about teamwork. You might see it as being about investment or possibility. You can interpret these pictures however resonates with you, but you want to make sure that you're addressing these values. So Chicago Booth appreciates the individual experiences and perspectives that all of our students bring. So they're actually interested in your experience and your perspective, and that will be part of your answer. This respect for different viewpoints creates an open-minded environment that supports curiosity, inspires us to think more broadly, and take risks. So open-mindedness, curiosity, broad thinking, and taking risks. At Booth, community, another value, is about collaborative thinking and learning from one another to better ourselves, our ideas, and the world around us. So now you're going to pick one or more of these values and one of these pictures, and then you're going to write an essay. And the essay should include stories about your past that show how this value has manifested in your life. So let's say you pick the value of collaborative thinking, and you might say, like, this has always been my approach. So, like, for example, when I was in high school and I was in charge of the blah, blah, blah of the literary magazine, instead of like deciding how to manage the cover, I created a contest where everybody submitted a design and then the entire team voted on their favorite one. And we arrived at a much more interesting outcome through collaborative thinking than we would have if I had just executive decisioned my way to the result. That's a flimsy, fake example, but you get the idea of, like, you want to show them how these values have manifested in your life to date in your career. And then, and this is a hot tip, I recommend that you also include how those values will be reflected in your life at Booth. So this is a bonus opportunity to actually then speak about, okay, I'm going to bring collaborative thinking if that's the one you want to focus on. And you don't have to only focus on one. You can include multiple. It's like, here's how I'm going to bring collaborative thinking to this club that I'm going to join, to this, class that I'm going to be a part of. It gives you the chance to further reflect your values and your future into your Booth experience. And I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to include in this essay a bit more about Booth and your life at Booth. Here's a really good question from Alex. So why do I think they ask applicants to be strategic with the number of words to use? So they don't actually ask you to be strategic about the number of words. I think it's always important to look at the letter of the law here. We trust you use your best judgment in determining how long your submission should be, but we recommend that you think strategically about how to best allocate the space. To me, this is just saying you're an adult, make your own choices, but don't bore us. Like, I think it's like, just don't submit a sloppy essay. Don't use the unlimited word count as a chance to not edit it. And
Right.
those of you who like are working with us as your coach, how much iteration goes into an excellent essay. And when there's no word limit, you might be tempted to just submit your first draft. That's all they're saying. They're saying, don't do that. Make it good. If it's 800 words, if it's 1,200 words, fine. Just make it good. To me, that's what they're saying.
I think you can always edit 10% too.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? Hopefully this was a useful session. We didn't promote this, Heather.
That's okay. We can promote it.
One of these days, we're gonna do all the things. So we had a very small group here. We love you guys. You guys are so inspiring, and we so appreciate you coming to these sessions and being a part of our community. Does anyone have any more questions before we close our Booth Q&A?
Shoot, Angela.
Yeah.
While they wait and type in questions, I gotta say, because I think we should promote it after the fact. I mean, people will find us. We've still got 7 days before the Booth application is due. Tell me if I'm wrong. But also, I want to say to people who are watching, like, this is the time, this is the year, this is your round. If you're teetering, apply. Round 2 starts now. We've got a few months. But it's time to actually like take advantage of the changes that are happening in graduate business education right now. So if you're teetering and you've got 3 to 5 years of work experience, or you've got 7 or 8, and you've got to decide, is this my year? This is the year. We've got to jump in. And that's it. That's all I've got, Angela.
Awesome. I just love this comment from Eshwar. Booth is as flexible with word choice as they are with the program. I love it. I love this comment. Like, you really nailed it. It's like they have a certain set of values and they just live it through everything that they do. And the one of the core values is choice. It's like, you're an adult, you're paying so much for this education. Make your own choices. Like, we don't have to like cram the curriculum down your throat. And so they're doing that with the essays too. It's like, just make your choices. We'll read whatever you submit, and we will take you seriously whatever you say. I love that. Okay, everybody. So wonderful to see you all. We'll be back again next week. We're going to do this every Wednesday. We're moving our live streams to Wednesdays. We will have a topic every week. Next week, we're talking about interview prep, and we are going to promote this one so that hopefully we'll have lots and lots of questions.
And I think we should invite people to leave us comments about what they want us to talk about too.
Yes, please do leave us comments. Here's a comment from Alex. What about the video essay? So you're talking about the video essay for Booth, right? That you get after you submit before your interview. And so those of you who are part of the MBA protocol community, we have lots and lots and lots of information about that. In fact, my YouTube video today was about the video essay. So go watch the video that came out like 3-4 hours ago. That summarizes it for you. The bottom line is keep it simple, keep it easy, keep it breezy, show your personality. That's the bottom line. Prepare enough so that you can like kind of like improvise on camera, but that's it. We've got deep advice in the MBA protocol hub, and even pretty solid advice as like literally the last YouTube video on our channel. So check it out. Okay, guys. Yay. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Bye.